Karnes Podcast, the host, Mitchell S. Karnes. Mitchell, the editing process. I have the same pains as you do, Mitchell, and this is just shared to your audience. I have to improve every day in this business of marketing. It changes every day. And now I've gotten involved in SEO, search engine optimization, for people who don't know it. And really going into technical terms, I'm talking to potentially enterprise solution called SCM Rush for SEO. And this is like deep SEO. And you know what their solution costs, Mitchell? $80,000 a year for an agent. It's unbelievable. And you're looking at, when you try to compete at a higher level, it costs a higher level. And you're seeing this as being a published author versus your self-publishing days, a lot more work, especially when you're going through a story and we're having these headache issues.
Yeah. And thankfully, I'm not self-published on this because I'm getting those second voices who are finding inconsistencies, things that I teased out there that I didn't follow through on. And it seems like that every time I'm taking a step forward on book 3, I'm finding 5 steps backwards and piecing things out. I had tried to go in and piece by piece edit what the Nashville police officers had told me. And then what my agent, Stephanie Cardell from Lighthouse Literary, has found. And every time I change something, I'm making 2 or 3 more inconsistencies. And so having to go back through again from the beginning and go through that. I've got 2 weeks left before I have to turn it in. So it's frustrating, depressing a little bit. And she had...
You can't be depressed. Just think of where you're at, Mitchell. Can't be depressed. I'll say everything else because you really have to be humble, because humility is one of the biggest things when you put yourself out there. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. And when you're putting your work out there, it's really a piece of you. So the critiques are not just about the book. It's really about me and my soul. So
that's my life every day, man.
Oh, I get it. But I'm thankful to have those people in my sphere that can be honest enough with me to say, hey, this is not what needs to be out there. You need to get this better. You need to work on this, so that when it does reach the reader, all of those things have been worked through several times.
And you're telling this to authors because authors, let's talk about editing process, Mitchell. For an author to understand if they're going self-published, what they should really look for when they're hiring these pieces of the puzzle.
When I was self-published and when I was doing things, I would write it and I would finish it and I'd go through just for grammatical things, not really for content. And then you put it out there and then you hope for the best. But having people like you in my sphere, having Stephanie as my agent, who's willing to do all this work as an editor as well, then having Mike Parker and WordCrafts to do that last little editing on it, you get it better and better. But like you said, you've got to be humble enough to say, okay, these people are finding things. I need to go change those and make it better.
Let's go the editing process. Once you get it together, there's multiple edits. And that's what I'm trying to say that these self-published authors better go through is there are multiple edits, and dive deeper into explaining that.
And I've said this before. I was accused of when I first started writing as said, Mitchell, you don't want to write, you want to have written. And I still fight that because once I finish it, I want to go on to the next book. I want to go on to the next project, but you've got to go back through and you've got to make sure you're consistent with characters, that what they do, what they say, how they act is consistent with the other 2 books that you've already got out there, that the clues that you give, you either follow through with or you discredit them as red herrings. But you've got to go through not just for grammatical things. You've got to go through the content. Is this the story I want to tell? Is it coming out clearly? I'd put something in that I thought was going to be a little cute side red herring, but it's caused more confusion than it helped. And so I'm going back through right now to take that whole piece out. So every time I teased it, every chapter I had a reference to it, I've got to find those and I have to take those out.
That's crazy, man, in so many ways, because all these different things. So it goes back and forth, but you have multiple editors. I always hear that there's first someone who just reads for grammatical errors, then there's developmental editor, then there's this edit. What recommendation when you give a self-published author, how many edits should they go through before they publish a book?
As many as it takes. Sometimes, like book 1, I got that through and it went through very few edits. It came across exactly like I wanted it to. Book 2, I had a few more. Book 3, since it's so late and complicated, I've got to go through, this is probably my 12th edit on this, and we're still not there, and I've got 2 weeks to get that settled and done before I have to turn it into WordCrafts. but it's work. And if you want to get out there and you want it to be better and you want your readers to keep hooked in the series, you've got to do that.
And if you don't, not a good thing.
Yeah, you don't, you're going to lose them on book 3 in the series. And they're not going to want book 4 or book 5 or book 6.
And how do you know a good editor? Look, because you're in the people that this is their business. This is not like something for Fantasyland. Hiring an editor. What would your recommendation be for a self-publisher when they look at editors? Their body of work, who they've been for? Yeah.
Do your research, see where they've been. This is my agent who, she was an editor before. She was with a book company, acquisitions there. And so you have someone who has the history, who has the experience. She also does editing on the side as another part of her business. So I'm getting that because she's my agent, but she takes pride in it because her name's on there too. And so you want someone who's not going to say, yes, this is really good, go for it. You want someone who's going to be honest with you and say, I think you're trying to do this, but it's not coming across right.
And that's the thing. I think that you're blessed in this fact, Mitchell, to have your agent be an editor. That is an extra layer that probably not all authors have.
Yes. And not all agents do that. And opted myself just to offer her a little bit extra on her percentage because she does so much work like this.
Oh, because it's an expensive thing, especially if you're going through multiple edits.
If I had to pay for it separately.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's why I recommend do your due diligence. First thing is when you're looking to hire an editor, and this is the self-published route, published versus self-published are different reasons. Mitchell is going to go mainstream. He's going to get a movie out of this deal or series. He's going to have so many opportunities of success of writing a big series that this is the best route for him. But for somebody else, look at the authors and their published works of the editors, right? And I would recommend throw that in AI. Take parts of the book, throw it in there and say, what do you think of this person as an editor? Because you can really do some due diligence to see if you're on the right track or they're really. Because if AI spots there's mistakes, there are mistakes. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, and the part with AI, just make sure that your publisher allows that. Because I have
I wouldn't. But no, I'm just talking to see if there's mistakes. I wouldn't use it.
Grammarly or any of those.
Oh my, Grammarly is an unbelievable tool. How much do you use that in your process?
Oh, quite a bit.
And don't you think Grammarly's this should be sponsored by Grammarly, FYI. And it's going to be interesting. I've not told you, Mitchell, I've got a streaming deal where I'm a streaming distributor for both not just podcasts, but film and series. So I've landed that deal. So your Mitchell S. Karnes podcast will be going on this network where you earn day one monetization. But, so that's big news. Yeah. But number 2 is if once you're going through the process and you get the movie made and everything like that, we have a distributor for you potentially that can distribute to all the platforms. So once it comes out, it all depends. But you have opportunity. And that's the key, is opportunity, Mitchell.
Sticking with it. You've got to persevere. You not just throw it out there. You've got to do the work.
And if you don't do the work, you lose. And now, more than ever. So when you're talking about your publisher, that's the other thing you want to look is what stuff is AI writing, and make sure, especially if you have a book that you might go self-publishing, want to go published at one point in time, what are the rules? So you have specific rules of how you're allowed to use AI in your books?
Yes.
Mitchell, can you expound on that?
It cannot do the content for me. So I cannot have AI that I say, in this scene, I want to do such and such, and let AI write that. I've got to write that myself. But if you really want to be a writer, you don't want anyone else writing it for you. That's part of the process you love and enjoy.
And how do they know this, Mitchell? It's
right now, that's just an honor system. I got to sign a contract that says I did.
See, and this is where the fight will come from the tech people. Mm-hmm. But that's interesting. I'm glad you brought that up. AI is a great tool for authors, but they got to learn the technology.
Right.
And that's a lot of work. I'm arguing with AI today before I got on the call with Mitchell. It's not easy. And it's not like you push a button and bam, I got a book. What's about writing is write it yourself. Use AI like Grammarly as a tool in editing. Ask AI for feedback on what do you think of it? That's something you should push in, Mitchell, and I'll show you how to do it.
Yeah.
And you'll at least get a critique to write better. Don't have them write it for you. Because
that defeats the purpose anyway. I want to be a writer. I want to write. That's my fun part.
That's where your passion comes, man.
Yeah, editing is the business part for me.
No. So that's the big thing. So go to MitchellSKarnesAuthor.com. again, thank you. Again, another great newsletter. You're thinking about
sign up with
newsletter. And the feedback's been great. Looking forward to November's newsletter, and we'll talk soon, Mitchell. Appreciate it. That was the special simulcast of the Neil Haig Show, the Mitchell S. Karnes Podcast.